didn't know I was going to be speaking today, so I'm kind of making it up as I go along. I was over at Delegate Reynolds' office Thursday, and when I went in, he asked me about what people I want to keep. And knowing Delegate Reynolds, I thought we were starting an early football fantasy pool. And I said, all my people. It wasn't until I got home and I got rested, I even sent him a text that, whoa, wait a minute, what are we talking about? I'm not going to lose my people. I live in Salt Rock. We're a border town next to Lincoln County. 17 years ago, nobody even knew Salt Rock existed. And before I forget, I want to take an opportunity to thank you all. I have never got to publicly thank them. In 17 years, we have worked together to get roads built, school buses for children, sewer plants sold, roads built. And collectively, it wouldn't have been done without each other. And for 17 years, we have worked together. We know how each other thinks. I've never had a problem of calling anybody and saying, and I guess maybe I'm fortunate because other people do, but I've never had a problem calling anyone and them saying, well, it's not my area. That's not my district. I don't know numbers. I know it said 778 we were short, but I have to respectfully question those numbers. Because living in a rural area, we've had census out now for 17 times, just in my neighborhood. Because in the rural counties, the addresses are messed up. I mean, really messed up. They don't know where, there's addresses from, I live at 845, my neighbor's address is 871. That is on the post office part, because they were supposed to fix this all, what, Chris, 10, 15 years ago? We've been talking about this a long time. So it's happening in my area, and anybody knows me knows that if it's happening to me, it's happening in other places. So I would say Raccoon Creek, I would say a lot of the people in the outlying in the rural areas of Cabell County are not being counted. But on a personal note, I don't want to lose my people. We have worked together. I can call either Senator Plumlaw or Senator Jenkins. I'll grab anybody if I need help from my district. And not once has anybody ever said, well, it's not my district, I can't help you. We have worked together not as, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, because these issues are not Republican and Democrat issues. These are human issues. Getting roads built to get children to school are human issues. And we need people in there to understand that. And to stop now and to think is kind of like having to choose one of your children. Who do you want to keep? Well, I want to keep all my kids. And I think our district deserves to keep all the people who have represented us in an astronomical way. Anyone, I don't know what districts you all live in. Are you in the 16th district? Raise your hand. 16th. And it's nothing against 15th district. I know those people well too. It's just that we work well together. We are well representative with what we have now. If anything else, we probably need somebody else because I bug them to death. And they would probably like to have another person to help to throw me off on somebody else. But that's not, I mean, I say that jokingly, but seriously, if anything else, I could see where we would need more people rather than less people. Because when you're dealing in a rural area, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, it's not like driving from here to the Joan. You're going up and down mountains, across hills, around down roads, around turns. Half the time you might go to Lincoln County, to Wayne County, to Cabell County, to get back to Cabell County to where you wanted to go to start with. And we need the representation, and I question the numbers. That's my biggest thing. I question the numbers. They don't even know how many people live in my neighborhood. That's one neighborhood. And I'll guarantee you what in the last 17 years we've grown 98%. So that's 300 people right there that they can't find and aren't on those numbers. If you go to Raccoon Creek, if you go down into Salt Rock, if you go into any of the areas around from, well, actually Rosera, from Rich Oil and Heath Creek, all that area around there, I'll guarantee you there's probably 4,000 or 5,000 people who have not been counted. And on that note, I just think it's wrong for us to lose or be sent to another district or broken up just because of a numerical error.
I'd like to thank the panel also for having these hearings. I'm from Mason County, and this is about as close as I could come to one of the hearings. I actually am more concerned about the House districts than I am the Senate districts. But just to kind of answer some of the questions that you brought up at the beginning of this hearing, the 4 questions: how do we view our current makeup? I really don't have a big problem with the senatorial makeup as it is. I guess maybe I would maybe question why we actually have 2 senators per district rather than just have double the number of districts and have 1 senator. That would allow each county to have possibly a representative, if that makes sense. So like we're in the 4th senatorial district. If we had maybe 2 districts there in the 4th, maybe that's something in the Constitution doesn't allow that or something. I don't know. Okay. Well, that would be something, that I would maybe consider. The other thing is how could they be improved, and maybe that's a way to improve it. And I know we're not here to talk about changing the Constitution, but that would just be my first thought. Actually, the last redistricting cycle, I didn't pay much attention to politics. But it's just gotten to a point where I think a lot of us realize that we need to start paying attention. And it's not a Republican, Democrat issue. It's just everybody has to pay more attention to what's going on, obviously. And what did not work well, I really don't know that either, except that, again, in the House of Delegates, I'm not happy with that situation. In Mason County, it's been, I think, over 24 years since we've had a representative who lives among us. If I want to talk to one of our senators, I have to drive to Jackson County or to Putnam County. Person to person, unless I can get them to come to us. But, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. Same thing with the House of Delegates. They don't drive down the same roads that we drive down. They don't live up the same halls and run over the same potholes. So they're not really seeing us, and we're not seeing them to be able to communicate to them the way we need to. And again, I know that this is primarily a Senate thing. That am I correct that you have to approve whatever the House of Delegates proposes or puts out there? So I would ask that maybe you talk to them and tell them that we strongly think that we should have single-member districts. Because the multi-member district does not make sense. A good example of representatives that drive on our roads, this Route 35 thing, I don't know if people from around here have paid much attention to that. This is one of the main roads into West Virginia. It's not just a Mason County issue, this is a state issue. But I think that the fact that we don't have representatives that have to pay those tolls every day, or talk to people who are paying those tolls, they didn't really care until we kind of got on them pretty hard, and then I think we got their attention. And again, this may not be the place for this, but we're watching closely what's happening with that too, because we're not going to let that sneak up on us again. The total transparency, I might ask, you don't have any maps or anything proposed right now. I would wonder if later on in the process there are going to be any other hearings where you would say, okay, here's our proposal for the way we're going to redraw these. Maybe not have so many, maybe have them in a more centralized location. I know a lot of us would probably travel to see them, I would. And the House of Delegates situation, I heard that it was said that it cost too much to have hearings, that they weren't going to have them. That's why they weren't going to have have those, and again, that's very disappointing. I don't know what it costs to have this hearing here, but we have kind of town hall meetings around home. It doesn't cost anything. And also, I understand that I have heard it rumored that Mason County may be lumped in with or redistricted into the 3rd Congressional District. And that's just a rumor from what I've heard, and if that's a possibility, I think it would be good to come to Mason County and explain why and if that's something that people think should happen. And I guess I just conclude that I would hope that as you look at this process, you're not looking at protecting incumbents, that you're looking at representing the population the best you can. Because to a lot of us out in the public, it looks to us like this is a save the incumbent process oftentimes. And I appreciate your time.
My name is Donna Holstein, and I live in the 30th District in Kanawha County. I'm a member of the Kanawha County Republican Executive Committee, but I'm also active in another group, the Metro Valley Patriots Tea Party. While most people believe that the Tea Party consists only of right-wing Republicans, I'm here to tell you that the Tea Party is comprised of Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, and Republicans, and that single-member districts is important to all voting parties. Our Tea Party's goal is to educate, organize, and inspire our fellow citizens to actively participate in the political process. We are not anti-government. We are for responsible government. We believe in individual liberty and fiscal responsibility. We feel it is our duty as citizens of West Virginia to hold our elected representatives accountable in the administration of their sworn duties. Single-member districts would help achieve that goal. It's hard for most citizens of the 30th District to name all of their representatives, and even more difficult to follow the actions and voting records of all 7 members. You could change that. Recently, Commissioner Kent Carper said that the people who spoke up for single-member districts have a certain agenda. That is true. We all have an agenda of wanting fairness in the political process. Every citizen should be afforded fair and equal representation, whether they're Republican or Democrat. Is it fair for one district to have 7 delegates and others to only have 1? Is it fair for delegates of the 30th to each have to answer to 124,294 citizens, and other delegates only to have to answer to 18,500? I am one of 124,294 citizens who reside in the 30th District. And it is truly difficult standing out in a crowd of 124,000 people. I'm just here today to ask you to please help make it easier for citizens of the 30th District to hold their elected representatives accountable for their actions by giving us each just 1 delegate, and also to help make it easier for the voices of the citizens to be heard in the 30th District. You have the power to change the things for the better. If the House hands you a bill that has less than 100 single-member districts, just say no. Thank you.